I'm back. I know it's been a minute since my last tutorial, so if you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, thank you so much for coming to see this little video. So we're doing this flag. It's an American Italian kind of inspired flag for one of my friends that he's been begging me for. So we're going to go ahead and get this done, a few different steps of this, but it really comes out super clean and pretty. So I hope you like this tutorial. Please leave me a comment. Let me know if you have any questions, and let's get started. So this Italian flag has 3 colors, and I'm going to divide this tumbler into 4 sections because I wanted a spot on the back to put the name. And with the colors that I want to use, I don't want to kind of duplicate any colors, so it's going to be silver. So I wanted that to go against a white background. I'm starting off with just a 3-inch piece of tape, and I know this is kind of a silly way to measure it, but for me, this is how I math. So I have a 3-inch piece of tape. I'm going to lay that directly onto the tumbler. Make sure it's straight. This is the most important part of this design, is making sure everything comes out really straight and clean. So get that tape on there good. I have this architect ruler. It's really neat. It's this curved ruler that I got from Create by Firefly. I do have a code to them. Everything that I'm using is going to be listed and linked in the descriptions, guys. So I take this curved ruler, really great because at top of it, it curves right around that tumbler, and I can make sure that I get a straight line. So I'm going to go ahead and mark my first line, move that piece of tape and butt it right up against that pencil line, and then go again each time that I have to do this. So I have all these sections marked off, and this cup is now divided into my 4 color sections. I'm using painter's tape for this, and keep in mind that when you're using painter's tape on a curved tumbler that some spots may not want to lay completely straight, so give it a little extra give in there, a little extra tape, so that you can really tuck it into those curves. Electrical tape would have been the better choice for curves on different things. You can really flex it a bit more to get it to lay the way you want, but with this paint being somewhat fresh, I didn't want to chance it. You're going to go ahead and take the 2 sections that you want white right now and tape those off all the way. All right, time to get these colors on. So we're doing spring green on this side. We're doing short, quick burst for both sides of spray paint because we don't want this to be runny or drippy. If you need 2 coats, then let that one dry completely and then go on with the other, with the second coat. The color that I'm using for the red is Poppy Red. Okay, I have really been loving this little method right here lately. I have just an empty spray bottle and I'm adding in some red alcohol ink to it. It's just alcohol ink. I started with this red and I realized that it was a little too bright and it was getting lost against that spray paint, so I switched it out for Sangria. Putting a few good squirts in there, and then we're going to spritz this against the tumbler. It's okay if it comes out kind of blotchy because we want that little effect, and you're going to see how we'll dab it through in a little bit. If you have too much alcohol ink that does spray on there and it starts to run in any directions, just go ahead and blow on it really quick and it will help dry it off. I have this dry baby wipe and I'm dabbing it around. I did not put any alcohol, rubbing alcohol on this dry baby wipe, but I have it just as an emergency because I was scared that it was gonna, like it would be too dry and I might need to just weten it up a little, but I didn't. It was great. So right here is just regular rubbing alcohol, nothing in that second one. I just sprayed it a few times to help those colors separate. We're going to do the same thing on this green side. This is Rainforest green that we're using, and to be honest with you guys, I should have used more green than I did, or maybe if there was a darker color. I do like the way that it came out, but I feel like with the red having so much bold texture to it, the green came out a little light in comparison. So hindsight, I would have added a bit more and had that really be a better, bolder green, but I'm not mad with how the end result came out. Just heads up, if you're doing this, a little more green. Next up, we're going to gently remove that painter's tape from the tumbler. I always pull it close to the tumbler to make sure paint doesn't lift, what it usually doesn't with this painter's tape if you let it dry all the way. Just go ahead and get that removed, and we are going to immediately clean up any spray paint that may have seeped through the tape. The times that I have taped things off with electrical tape, I've never had this issue because it does tape down really well, and it also curves with the tumbler, but this paint, the white, was a little fresh, so I didn't want to chance it. So I'm using rubbing alcohol instead of acetone because I just need to get rid of that paint just a little, and I don't want to remove any of the white. So go on there and go ahead and do what you can to get that color removed. If it doesn't remove, it's okay because we are going to do a layer of white spray paint over that. We just want to be sure that you can't see it through that white spray paint. Once you get that all removed, let this sit and dry. It needs to be completely dry. You do not want to risk any of that ink or spray paint coming up, so give it some time to dry. I have this painter's tape that I'm going on with again because I know that the electrical tape is just going to be too rough. And if you've noticed, I went ahead and ran this against my arm and then tapped against my shirt to take some of the sticky off this. I'm going to very carefully make sure I go right up against that green line, the green and the red on all sides that I'm taping off. I want this to be a very, very clean seam. So get as close to you can right on there, tuck it into those little creases. If you give it a little extra tape on that crease, you can kind of fold it in there and then get it to lay down a bit more flat without this white seeping through, and it actually worked out really great. So go on, tape all of this around, and then once I get it taped on each side, I do run a layer of tape over the green in the middle and over the red in the middle to make sure that you can't see any of those colors, because the white spray paint, I don't want any overspray to get through that. Also, ignore that saran wrap that's sitting there. A lot of times if I am taping off a design, I will use saran wrap to attach to the tape just to kind of save me from having to tape over paint. But this, it was dry. It was dry enough. I thought it wouldn't be, but it was dry enough, so I didn't end up using it. We're bringing this outside and we're going to go ahead and spray paint it. I'm double checking those edges again where it may have lifted to make sure that it's laying flat. And we're adding some white spray paint to this. Then we're going to do, once again, short, quick bursts of spray paint. We don't want this to be runny. It is okay if it does kind of come out a little blotchy because we want to give a little blotchy white effect to this tumbler, but we don't want it to be runny. Also give a little extra attention to those areas that may have bled through and make sure those are covered. So I definitely attempted to do that same effect with the white on white, but I honestly, guys, I messed up. The white on white under epoxy, it didn't show through. I mean, if you look really, really close, you could possibly see it, but it didn't work the way that I really hoped it would. And there was just no way of knowing that until it got under epoxy. If I could have done this over, I probably would have done maybe an ivory white spray paint and then mist with white alcohol ink, or vice versa. I would have done like a little grayish whitish alcohol ink mixture and spritzed that over white spray paint. But don't do white on white. You couldn't see the white. It really fell flat. And that's, I think, the most part of the tumbler that I kind of wasn't quite happy with. So just heads up on that. Don't do white on white. Pick one of your colors to be, you know, an ivory or an antique, or, you know, just a different color white so it doesn't just fall together. Okay, so once I thought I was happy with how that looked, I went ahead and removed the tape from all the other areas of the tumbler. Pull slow, carefully go against it. You'll see a few spots where the color kind of did come up, but I just grabbed a thin paintbrush and I sprayed a little bit of the spray that I use for the alcohol ink. I sprayed it on my desk and I just tapped it on there to kind of tap up those areas. Don't just tap the one area that you need to clean up. Tap it all over to play off the little areas of how the ink adds and separates. And it's hard to explain, but when you add it on there, you'll see how it falls. But if you add just a few more areas around there, you can play off the fact that you had to clean anything up. So I did that on the white and the green. I once again let this sit and dry completely, didn't touch it, and then we went on with a layer of epoxy. Okay, and please forgive me for the lack of epoxy on any of this tumbler, the videos. I have no idea what happened to them. I did use Flint Sisters Fast Cure epoxy for all of the steps except for the last. The last one went to Artist Cure so I can get that really pretty shine. The bottom of the tumbler, I do have a video on how I clean up the rims of my tumbler. This is a cup edging tool that I'm using, but you can find the video, a full tutorial on how I do the top and bottom rims of my tumbler on this channel. This luster vinyl is absolutely gorgeous. I'm just obsessed with the way it looks under epoxy. This I got from a local place by me called All Stitched Up by Angela. They're going out of business, so if you can get to their website fairly soon, like in the next month or so, you can grab this at an insane deal. And if not, I'll look up where else you can get this from, and I'll post the link for it. Whenever I'm trying to piece files together, I like to put it on a Cricut mat to kind of hold it down in place. There's times when you're trying to add layers together or just piece different pieces of vinyl together, it kind of wants to jump up on you. And if you put it on a piece of Cricut mat or something, it'll stay flat and you can really build it without it moving around on you. I'm going to get all those bubbles out and then work on the template. I'm a really visual person and I don't like wasting material. So one of the things I like to do whenever I'm working on something is I will switch my image in Cricut to a print. That way I can print it out and I can resize it as needed and kind of tape it in place and really make sure that it's going to fall exactly how I need it to be. This little part right there, I'm putting a little piece of clear contact paper where I want that corner of the flag to start. That way I kind of have a visual and idea of where it needs to go just for reference. For this flag, we're going to put it on an angle, and it's a curved tumbler, so it's going to mess up those two bottom lines. We're going to go ahead and remove those right now. That way we're not fighting with those sticking to the tumbler, and we'll piece those on later. We're doing the hinge method. We're cutting off just a tad of the back to kind of get it in place so we can hold it where it needs to be, line everything up, and make sure it falls all the way around. To remove this piece, we're going to press down the back of the tumbler, the back of the flag image, and then a little at a time just work the paper off of the back of the tumbler as we're adhering the sticker onto there with our fingers. Just, I like to go, up through the middle and then outwards to make sure the bubbles are being pushed out into the sides. That one little strip was being fairly stubborn, so I did have to reset it a few times, but surprisingly the luster you couldn't even tell that it was lifted and replaced a few times. So I went ahead and put that on. You're going to work around these curves, guys. It's not the easiest thing, but the way that this distressed flag looks, there are a few areas where it did fold over that I was able to cut it off and kind of play off the design of how it does look a little more distressed. So now we're going to go ahead and get these bottom two stripes on, do the same thing, work with that curve, wrap it around, get it on there, making sure you get the bubbles out the whole way around. It's time to get the stars on there, and I use this really pretty white glitter vinyl that has a soft shimmer to it. It's just gorgeous, and that's also going to be linked below. It's kind of the go-to white that I use. Once those were on there, I realized that with this flag, it kind of gets lost. The American flag gets lost with the green and the red, so we needed to do something about that. So I went ahead, and this was a little painstaking, but it worked out in the end. I taped off all around the flag. My plan is to get this clear contact paper down, and then I trimmed around where the white sections would need to go, and I kind of played off little edges on that, so kind of hand designed where those white strips needed to go. I did initially try cutting some white strips to fill in those middle sections, but with the bottom edges of the tumbler with those last three stripes, it wasn't possible because the size varied. Since I had to put them on by hand, it wasn't a standard kind of missing spot from Cricut that I could just cut to fill in that space. I really had to carve it out. So that's all I'm doing here. I'm putting clear contact paper over the entire design. I'm carving out and removing areas where the stripes need to go. So everywhere that's red, those red stripes, those are getting covered with clear contact paper and or that painter's tape to make sure the white spray paint doesn't get onto that. If you do this over a tumbler that is not sanded, it's going to be a lot easier to clean overspray. And I actually didn't quite have that problem, which surprised me because I was a little scared. This was definitely a panic moment of how do I save this and give the effect of that American flag on there. So take your time, go through and make sure that you have all of these sections marked off where your spray paint will cover up those white stripes where it needs to be without getting spray paint on any of the other parts. So I took this outside and I spray painted it, and I don't know what's wrong with me, guys. I don't know why my videos weren't going, but I did do a few light coats of spray paint in different times, make sure it dried in between so that all of those other colors, the red and the green, were covered up really well. This is mica, pearl mica that I'm using, and I did not put down any tacket or any type of glue to hold this in place. The spray paint that I used was a semi-gloss, so it already has a bit of tack to it, and it allows for that mica to just go ahead and attach to that spray paint without having to do anything special. Once that's down, hit this with clear spray paint. I forgot to do that, but and I wish I would have. What that will do is it will help that mica to stay in place, and it won't, it's powdery, right? So it won't go all the way around. Our next step is to carefully remove all of this painter's tape and that clear contact paper that we use to protect the design. You don't want to remove any of your vinyl on here, so really take your time, wiggle your tape back and forth, and that will help to just lift it all up really smoothly without messing anything up. And this was the results that I was really excited it worked. I was so nervous when I saw that flag didn't quite hold the way I wanted it to, but as I removed this, I kind of was getting excited that it actually worked. There are some spots where there was a tad bit of overspray that got stuck in my paint, so I just went ahead with some acetone and cleaned up those sections just very carefully to get it removed. Once that was all cleaned up, I went ahead and did the name on the back, which is another video that I have no idea what happened to. I did it in an Old Sport athletic font. It's one of my favorite fonts. It really gives a fun look and kind of different to what I always see. So we put that on there, and then this did get a layer of epoxy. I sanded it to make sure the final layer would go on smooth, and then it got that final layer of Flynn Sisters Artist Cure epoxy. And it came out just really neat. Like I said, you can see here where the white, the splotch didn't hold out the way that I wanted it to. Definitely lesson learned. There would be a better way to do that next time, but I really am happy with the results, and I hope this kind of gives you an idea of how to switch out some different tumblers with that spraying of alcohol. If you have any questions, like I said, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what you think about this, and that's it, guys. I'll see y'all soon.